MHCN acknowledges the traditional custodians of country and pays respect to elders past, present and emerging. We are the peak body for mental health carers in New South Wales, and we advocate for carers' rights and systemic reform. Caring Between Minds, mental health advocacy in action.
This episode discusses trauma, caring, and lived experiences. Please listen at your own pace and reach out to support services if you need to.
Life, relationships, and people, in my opinion, aren't black and white. So mum was emotionally and physically abusive, and I did get the brunt of that. I did know she was unwell, but how much do you excuse because someone is unwell? And how much of it is because someone is unwell, if any at all? And mum never believed that she had a mental health condition and that she might have needed help and that she might have needed some medication. She did push her friends and family away, and then they distanced themselves because she wouldn't get any help. So currently I am the only one who can and will help. And to be honest, I don't really want to after everything that we dealt with growing up, but I do worry if I don't step in about something happening to her.
Laura is the kind of person who once threw out clothes so she could fit more books in her suitcase when moving home from Canada. And she's now studying her 5th qualification. She's a die-hard soccer player competing across multiple leagues, a thrift store treasure hunter, a mentor to young girls in football, and someone who treats Eurovision like the geopolitical masterclass it truly is. And you know what? She's also an introvert. She's someone who recharges alone and guards her freedom fiercely. Laura has been a mental health carer for her mum, who lives with schizophrenia since she was a child. Her story isn't neat or sentimental. It's layered, complex, and honest. Because love and distance can exist at the same time. And that's something we don't talk about enough. I'm Patty Kikos, and this is a conversation about caring that isn't black and white. It's every shade of grey in between. Lean in, folks. You're going to want to meet Laura Knight.
I realize the actual depth of it now and when I was in my 20s, but at the time I was conscious that our childhood was different. So when mum's sitting in the corner laughing and talking to no one, you kind of do figure out that something isn't quite right. I'd be too embarrassed to invite my friends over as well because sometimes mum would say some things to them that didn't make sense or would yell at me or them. I'm aware that this isn't the case for a lot of people's experience, but for me, this was my experience as a child.
You've said that your mum's schizophrenia started with postnatal depression. How did mental illness shape the atmosphere in your home when you were growing up? You said that she'd sometimes yell at you or even your friends.
Yeah, so mum's been quite unwell in my experience ever since I was born. Mum would take medication and then she would stop because she didn't believe that she needed it. We did have a lot of outside help and support at the time, but it didn't seem to help.
Is that in the form of carers coming to your house?
Yeah, and the mental health team and other organisations that would come and they'd send a worker out to do things with us and mum. So that kind of support and help and family members at the time. But I don't have many fond memories with mum because she couldn't or she wouldn't do the usual mum things like drive us to school, make us lunch or have a tea, or just even hang out with us. Instead, it was very chaotic, unpredictable, and even violent at times.
Do you have any fond memories of your childhood?
I do have a lot of fun memories growing up. My dad worked hard to make it fun and special for me and my brother. So he was always tinkering away in the garage, building things for me and my brother, like a billy cart or a really terrible skateboard that was awful, left. Or he'd make me and my friends funny plates of food when I'd have parties. Or he'd just randomly hide random things around the house, like spiders and cardboard cutout faces, and it would scare me and my brother, that kind of thing.
Real spiders or fake spiders?
Oh, well, fake spiders, but a memory is coming back now where he would find like dead huntsmen around the house because we live out in the country, and we would hide them around the house. So sometimes one would appear in my bed, but it was not alive.
This is good. It sounds like it built your resilience. As the eldest child, you probably stepped into responsibilities very early, helping your dad, possibly even looking after your brother. How did that shape who you became as a person?
So my dad and my brother and I have a really good relationship, which is nice. I'm very thankful for. So growing up, if dad wasn't home, I would forge my brother's commission slips. I also taught my brother how to ride his first bike.
Hang on a minute. Whose signature would you forge, your mum or your dad's?
Mum's, because we have our names start with L, both our names. She had an easy signature to forge as well. And it wasn't legal when my brother got his L's and I was on my P's at the time. We get in the family car and I'd take him down to the dirt track near our house and teach him how to drive a manual, which was a test of my patience, definitely. But I mean, I'm also a type A kind of girl. So no doubt my childhood would have contributed to the control freak I've become. And sometimes I do wonder what kind of person I'd be now if I didn't have this sort of experience with mum growing up.
Is that label something that you would still identify with, being a control freak or someone that is very comfortable being in control?
I am definitely a control freak. It is one of the ways I would describe myself and how I'd calm myself down when I do get into a bit of a heightened state of anxiety.
Random question. Do you still remember how to drive a manual?
I still drive a manual and I only drive manual cars because I don't want to lose the skills. I'm also pretty sure that this was one of the things that clinched the deal when I started dating my partner, who was a massive car fanatic.
You shared something really powerful. You've said that caring relationships aren't always built on closeness or admiration. I guess sometimes they could be cautionary tales. Can you talk about the shades of grey that exist in your relationship with your mum?
Life, relationships, and people, in my opinion, aren't black and white. So mum was emotionally and physically abusive, and I did get the brunt of that. I did know she was unwell, but how much do you excuse because someone is unwell? And how much of it is because someone is unwell, if any at all? And mum never believed that she had a mental health condition and that she might have needed help and that she might have needed some medication. She did push her friends and family away, and then they distanced themselves because she wouldn't get any help. So currently, I am the only one who can and will help. And to be honest, I don't really want to after everything that we dealt with growing up. But I do worry if I don't step in about something happening to her.
Is that also because had you not offered some help, you wouldn't be able to forgive yourself if something did happen to her? Is that what that comes down to?
Potentially, I don't know if I'd be able to forgive myself. I'm not sure, but yes, being the only person involved, it sort of just feels like I'm the thin line between something happening and something not happening sometimes.
I can understand that. Have you ever had times where you and your mum were estranged?
So there was a number of years where I'd only talk to her on the phone once a month or visit a handful of times a year.
So that
So the
sounds very, very clear boundary.
Yes, yes, because she does go through phases where she brings a lot, like about 20 times in one day and at odd hours through the nighttime. So I do have to put those boundaries in place. In the last few years, I have been more actively involved in her care because when she transitioned from the mental health team to the older person's mental health team, they contacted my dad as somebody to be involved because there was nobody involved and they'd been separated for 13 years. So they then rang me, they got my number off mum. And I wanted to be a bit more involved because I had no idea what was going on with her and her care. Mum's memory isn't good either, so I'm fairly sure she does have dementia. So I can't even get any information out of her if I would ask her questions directly. So I have that direct contact now with people involved in her care.
Is her loss of memory something that's recent, or has that always been very prevalent in her disposition?
In the last 10 years or so, definitely, it's been a long time that her memory's not been great. She can remember things like birthdays and really clearly experiences from when she was younger or when she was an older adult, maybe in her 30s and 40s, but anything recently that's happened, she can't seem to remember any of that. So if there's anything outside her usual routine, the routine is good. But if there's something that happens and it throws things into chaos and she can't quite remember what's going on.
Many people imagine caring is an act of love, but your experience includes trauma and abuse. What has it been like navigating that complexity? And what I mean by that is caring for someone that you don't necessarily feel emotionally safe with.
It is hard. I love her because you have to, which I put in the sort of quotations, not necessarily because I do. I essentially just want her to be safe, somewhere safe. And then once that's done, maybe I could back away from this situation a bit more. Despite having a traumatic and a chaotic childhood, I am aware that she is unwell. It doesn't excuse some of the things that she's done or some of the experiences we've had growing up, however.
No, but two opposite things can always be true, that she's vulnerable and she needs help, but also that you're still healing from a lot of the trauma she inflicted, right?
Yeah, and that's the shades of grey.
For sure, for sure. How does this show up for you in terms of boundaries now? So obviously over the years, there might have been perimeter breaches, if you like. And over the years, you might have had to update how close or how tight your boundaries were. What does it look like for you today?
So I only actually just thought about this recently, but I probably won't tell her when/if I should say, I get engaged. And I won't invite her to my wedding. I think it would cause mayhem. I don't want to be worrying if she's going to cause a scene at my wedding. It's meant to be a once in a lifetime celebration, one of the happiest days of someone's life. And I don't want to jeopardize that. But if I told her I was engaged and I didn't actually invite her to the wedding, I imagine she'd be pretty crushed. And I really don't want to do that to her.
And has your understanding of your mother's illness changed over time, especially now that you're older and you've chosen to be more involved in her care again?
Yes and no. So when I was a kid, I knew she was unwell, but I was also a pubescent teenager. And when you're a pubescent teenager, you're not fully thinking rationally and logically at times. So there were times when we would be yelling and screaming at each other. However, as time went on, it did go to just sort of going along with what she wanted, just to keep her from escalating and potentially getting violent, because that was the safest. I learned that was the safest way to actually get through that.
So, a lot of what you've described, from having that boundary of, hey, this is an important event and it's important that it goes well, so you can't be part of it, to reacting strongly and yelling back, to also going with the flow just because it was easier. Do you think that all of those acts are just part of what we call self preservation?
The self-preservation was the fawning response, which I believe is just recently-ish been added to that flight, fight, fear as another category.
That's right. So fawning is a stress or trauma response where a person focuses on keeping others happy or calm in order to feel safe. And it can look like people pleasing, over apologizing, maybe even putting other people's needs ahead of their own to avoid conflict or rejection. Just little sidebar here. Have you ever been a people pleaser?
But what you just said could not more accurately describe me.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. That is it. It's me to a T. Yes,
Even now? Still now?
less so than what I used to be. I try to be a bit more blunt, but yes, I definitely am a people pleaser. I don't want people to be mad at me or angry at me. I want people to like me and think I'm confident and wonderful. And yes, very much a people pleaser.
Would you describe yourself as a retired or recovering people pleaser, maybe?
I think we're on the road to recovering, but I don't think we've quite hit that road yet. We have some work to do.
But looking back now, how do you feel?
So I do actually wish I handled some of those moments with mum differently when she was agitated, when she was escalating, because I know now that screaming and yelling back doesn't help. And it wouldn't have made her feel very safe or very good either, especially she's experiencing hallucinations or delusions at that point in time.
Yeah, or hearing voices for sure. Were
Yeah.
there times in your life where you experienced anything similar to some of your mum's symptoms?
Yeah, so actually I did go through an experience a few years back when the medication that I was taking for high blood pressure, because we have high blood pressure in our 30s apparently, was causing me to hear and to see things that weren't actually there at nighttime when I go to sleep. That's when it happened. It did last a few weeks until I went back to the doctor and he adjusted the medication to a lower dosage. It was actually a really scary experience, but I knew it wasn't real or my reality, but it did give me the sort of insight to what mum might experience, just slightly. But yeah,
That must have been so frightening.
yes, it was very frightening, but not all of what I saw were bad. Sometimes I see spiders, which I don't mind so much, but sometimes I'd see a rolling picture of hills, like one of those projectors where the images sort of keep coming. So
Mm.
that was nice, and I'd hear people talking, but it was just cafe chatter. So
Mm.
some of it was fine. It was a bit amusing sometimes, laying in the bed at night and seeing spiders or hearing people in a cafe. But
And there are some people that suffer from schizophrenia where not all voices are necessarily bad or negative. Some can be quite comforting. So I imagine that would have really deepened your capacity for empathy as well.
yeah, it did absolutely. It was a scary experience, but in a way, I'm sort of glad that I had that experience.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite unique.
You know, for carers who might feel guilty because their relationship with the person that they care for is complex, it's complicated, it might even be messy. What would you want them to know?
Yeah, so great question. I think try and find meaningful relationships outside of your caring relationship and the person that you care for. Find an outlet for your thoughts and feelings. So I find it very validating when I get to voice out loud how I'm feeling or just to write it down. And that could be seeing a friend or a professional. I have a journal that I write in, and when I write, it helps me to actually properly gather my thoughts and why I'm feeling how I'm feeling. Sometimes there is no right or wrong answer or feeling as well. So I'd like carers to know that life is complicated.
Mm.
Humans are complex. It is that many shades of grey that we've spoken about. But also, I'm sure you're trying your best as a carer because sometimes you just want somebody to say, "Hey, I see you, and you're working damn hard."
And one bad day or one bad experience doesn't define who you are as a carer, and it doesn't even necessarily define your relationship.
Exactly, exactly. I think that's a really good point, Patty.
Outside of caring, you have such a rich life. Soccer, books, travel, Eurovision, study. I mean, was it important for you to build a life that felt very separate from your caring roles?
Yes, definitely. I don't want to have a miserable life. I do want to be happy, and I do the things that bring me joy.
Mm.
I think, like I read this somewhere recently, life is too short not to fill your days with a little bit of magic.
Mm.
So wear your nice jewelry, use your fancy plates that you never get out of the cupboard, read the book, wear your nice clothes. Don't wait for the right or the perfect time. My partner actually said this, but the perfect time is now.
I hear this a lot, and every time I do, it hits a different point for me as well. It's right. Why do I have to wait for this special occasion? Why can't I wear this nice dress on this Saturday night?
Get it out of the cupboard, Patty. Get it out.
Hey, don't threaten me with a good time. Now, on a serious note, though, these are excellent suggestions. Is this the advice that you would give to other carers?
So take care of yourself before you actually need the support. You need to actively schedule things into your calendar for your mental health and well-being, whether that's attending a support group or an exercise class or whatever it is unique to you, you need to do it. You have to do it before your battery drains. I'd also say check Services Australia to see if there's any carer payments that you're eligible for and can help financially.
That's an excellent point. That's an excellent point. I want to talk about your fabulous aptitude for scheduling, but I've got this thought that's just come into my mind because you have described yourself as both chatty and introverted. How do you protect your energy while you're balancing your caring responsibilities, plus your work, plus your study, plus the hobbies that you have, which are quite involved?
Look, I do have to acknowledge that I'm very lucky. So I do have a job where I get to work from home. I also have flexible working hours. So if I either have to duck out the caring duties, which I do have to do quite a bit, or dealing with my own chronic health condition, it works well for that. My partner is also very emotionally intelligent. So I'm very lucky in that way. He's very supportive, but he knows that I need alone time. He can read me like a book. But I am also proactive myself in scheduling those things into my calendar in advance before I start becoming drained. Because if I don't, then it could lead to disaster. So I will go and work from a cafe. That brings me joy. Or schedule in a facial or a massage, something like that.
You mentioned, again, your scheduling. I'm going to get to that. But you also mentioned that you have a very flexible work schedule. Was that something that you negotiated with your place of work?
No, actually, no. So COVID happened and we all worked from the office, and COVID happened and we all discovered we could work from home. So we all started working from home, but we also we've always really had quite a flexible work environment in general because we have a very supportive CEO and we do work in mental health. So yeah.
That's amazing. And I know that's not exactly everyone's experience. Okay, let's get to the hot topic because you are actually impeccable at scheduling your time. And I could really learn from you because I've got a bad habit of wanting to finish work first before I do something for me. It's almost like I respond better to the stick than the carrot. Which is a bit of a worry. And then it's late and I'm tired, or the place I wanted to go to has closed. So, what are your tips for well meaning and very well intentioned carers like myself who want to do it but don't quite get to actually administer that scheduling?
That is a great question. So I actually had to learn a very big lesson a few years ago when I got so overwhelmed in everything that was going on, putting everyone else first and also working myself to the bone. I ended up having my own mental health breakdown, my own breakdown. I ended up quitting my job, which was a source of some of the stress. But thankfully, I was able to return and to work something out with my boss and how I could address that stress moving forward. It was the wake up call I needed. It was scary and terrible. I was very scared, but I'm glad it happened because it was the wake up call that I actually did need to make sure that that never happens again. To use it as a cautionary tale, so you don't have to go through what I did because my mental health was pretty rock solid before that, in my opinion. So yeah, you don't want it to get to that point.
You spoke about how important freedom is to you, even something simple like sitting in a cafe with a book. What does freedom mean to you after growing up in a caring environment that was a little bit volatile?
So my freedom is probably the most important thing to me. That and making sure that I'm making my own choices and my own decisions to reflect what I actually want and what I'm actually feeling. Because as a child, I didn't actually get to make those decisions. I didn't have any control over those kind of things.
That's right. Because even though you were the carer, you were also the child and you didn't have agency.
Yeah, I couldn't leave. So because of that experience of being tied to mum, I actually don't want children because you can leave a partner if things are going wrong. You can leave a parent, a friend, a sibling, whoever. But if you have a child, you can't leave a child. And I need that freedom.
Were you always clear about not wanting children?
I actually was. I think other people struggle with my decision because I always had people saying to me that I'd change my mind or I'll get lucky one day. And I haven't actually changed my mind. And I never actually wavered much in that decision either. But I do think women experience more stigma than men about that decision.
For sure. For sure. Even in reference to the caring role, we're supposed to be caregivers. But that's the thing. What we want to do is show the world that we don't have to be caretakers necessarily.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, Patty.
Looking back, what support do you wish your younger self had when you were growing up in that caring role?
So I wish I had more support from my school and from my teachers, because if somebody had just asked me if I was okay, or if they just checked with me if things are okay at home, or even connected me with some supports, that would have been nice. It would have been something. It would have been better than nothing. However, I am aware that I was in school nearly 20 years ago now, so a lot has changed, and there is a bit of a bigger focus on the importance of mental health now.
Yeah, for sure. And how do you think your caring experience influenced the work that you do now? And maybe even the values that guide you professionally, because you mentioned that you work in a mental health care space.
Yeah, so when I moved in Canada when I was younger with my friends, we all had that sort of party experience. It was a really fun time. I'm really glad I did it. But you do kind of get over it after, doing it back to back for a year. So I had this magical epiphany. I came up from Canada back to Australia, and I had this epiphany that I wanted to do something more meaningful where I could help other people who had been through a similar thing to me. Or sorry, I should say, I don't want them to go through a similar thing. So other people in that sort of caring space. So I actually went to TAFE and I did a student placement as part of my diploma, and I ended up at MHCN. And the CEO, Jonathan, told me when I started that I would have been a young carer. And I'm like, oh, he's got the wrong idea here. I'm not a wrong carer. And I explicitly said to him, no, you have the wrong idea. I was not a young carer. I don't, what is that? That was not me. I was just a child. But you're mistaken. But he was very right. I learnt not very long after that. And here we are 10 years later. Where's the time gone?
Oh, and to think you left the job, luckily you were able to go back.
I'm very lucky that I was able to go back. So I'm very thankful. Thank you, Jonathan, and thank you, MHCN.
Yeah, Mental Health Carers New South Wales. Okay, let's do some fast and furious questions because I want people to get to know the other part of Laura outside of her caring role. Okay, you ready?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Best thrift shop find ever. Go.
So I found an eel leather handbag in Vinnie's at Springwood that was made in Korea. It is absolutely beautiful. The craftsmanship is exquisite. However, for the record, I do want to say I do not support killing animals for garments and bags and clothes and things.
I understand. Dream future pet besides Peter the gremlin cat who I have met.
I do want 100 more cats and dogs. Shh, don't tell my partner. But I really want a snake.
Oh, what kind?
Some kind of python. The really big, long, like the coastal python.
Yes.
They're stunning, and they have a good temperament.
They do. A friend of mine had one and we thought we lost her, and it turns out that she was fast asleep, coiled around the bun in my head. We forgot that she'd actually gone up and yeah, and we were looking for you for hours before we realized. Did I ever tell you that?
Well, your hair's that wild, Patty, that I'm not surprised that there was a snake loose in your hair.
I aim to create safe environments for all creatures.
That tells you a lot. If the snake's, curled up asleep in your hair, it tells you a lot about the sort of person you are.
You know, it's also my Chinese astrology sign.
It's also my Chinese astrology sign too.
Curious?
Year of the Snake, yes.
Okay, book you recommend to everyone.
1,000 Splendid Suns by Colette Cassini.
Oh,
Get your tissues ready because you will bawl, but it's a beautifully, beautifully written story.
have you read it more than once?
I've read it a few times now. I am due for maybe the third or the fourth read. It's the sort of book that you do keep coming back to read over and over again.
It's funny you say that. I saw it in my community library and I've taken it, and I try to be very vigilant about how many books I have, but it's on my list again. But I also remember how intense it was. So I've got to be in the right frame of mind to start it because I know what's going to happen. But you're right, it's beautifully written. And this is the question that I've really wanted to ask you. Okay. Eurovision country you secretly always go for.
I actually don't. I don't have one. Not even Australia, who is in the contest. So I pick the best song every year. So that's the country I go for. So every year it's different. So this year, my pick for the win is Finland. So Eurovision's in May. So you heard it here first.
2026, Finland.
2026. Finland. Yeah. So maybe we might see you in Helsinki next year or May.
Laura Knight, you are delightful. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Patty. You're delightful yourself.
And thank you. If this resonated with you, please assist us by liking, subscribing, but especially leaving us a 5-star review, because that's what makes sure that we get into the right listening ears. Till next time.
Everything that MHCN does is guided by the lived experience of people with mental health concerns and the families and carers who support their recovery. We're very grateful for their contribution to this podcast. To support or find out more about MHCN, you can donate, join our free advocacy network, and subscribe to our e-newsletter. All those links are in the show notes below.